The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRCmedia, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
This week on FRCmedia News, the City Council Committee gets an update on affordable housing options and those who are homeless. Local teens are getting a hands-on look at what it takes to become police officers. And the United Way is collecting school supplies leading up to the new school year. All this and more coming up. It's Thursday, July 27th, 2023. This is FRCmedia News. I'm Keith Tebow. The City Council Committee on Human Services, Housing, Youth, and Elder Affairs received an update this week on the progress the administration has made in combating homelessness and creating more affordable housing. Michael Dion, director of the Fall River Community Development Agency, says 96 individuals have been identified as homeless in the city's latest, quote, point-in-time count. The city continues to deploy a street outreach team that has monitored and disbanded about a half dozen homeless encampments across the city.
We're trying to work with these individuals. We're trying to see if they want services, see if they want to go into detox beds, get mental health assistance. I've had a couple just recently where I sent them back to Virginia, bought them a bus ticket, send them back to Virginia. That's where they wanted to go. We do have some people that, yes, are living in cars throughout the city. I was able to get one this week into Ships Cove. So, you know, we've had some successes. We've also, it's a very difficult, you know, group of people to deal with. Some of them do not want services. Some of them want to live out there, especially when it's warm.
On the housing front, Mr. Dion says his office continues to look at opportunities to create more affordable housing units while encouraging neighboring communities to do the same.
Right now, my office has currently about 520 units in the city that are affordable. We still have the majority of those units. The rents are about $800, $900. Those units don't turn over that much because of the rents. Mm-hmm. You know, we're adding new units daily. I mean, right now I'm working on 73 Thomas Street, 3 units. I'm working on Pleasant Street, another 13 units, 16 units at another location. So we're trying to add units, affordable units, but what we're adding is not enough for the demand. The other thing is we have to get other communities to start building affordable housing also. It can't be all, like she said, you know, a lot of our homeless come here because we have the services. You know, we need to have Westport, we need to have Somerset, Swansea, outside our area, Sonnet, Freetown, to start looking at housing and get close to that 10%.
Director of Outreach Services Nikki Fontaine says overdose cases are at their lowest levels since 2016, while the need for mental health services for the homeless has doubled. Gains that have been made in communicating and finding services for the homeless have been the result of local agencies working together.
So many organizations are partnering together. It was always separate silos.
Right.
And under this administration, they did get everyone to kind of coexist, and they created a database for substance use and homelessness that we've never had before to track each individual. So say Johnny Homeless that we've already been working with walks into Charlton, we'll get an alert that, hey, he's there, this is what the FAST team has done with him. That's going to be groundbreaking for the city to try to keep track of everyone, because they're constantly moving. Right. They don't have IDs, they don't feel comfortable with everyone, so the city has to work together.
Mr. Dion says even though challenges remain, the successes seen in recent years have come about with the help of COVID CARES Act funding, which will expire later this year. He says moving forward, the government must provide more money toward battling homelessness and creating affordable housing.
Our federal government and our state government has to make this problem a priority. And you know, since I've been working here, there's always been, 10-year plan to end homelessness, and there's been all kinds of plans, and it's not backed up with any kind of funding. And until we received this money through the CARA grant, also through the CARES Act, you can see where you can really make a difference when you have the resources.
22 teens will spend the rest of this week and next learning the finer points of law enforcement at the Fall River Police Department's Teen Police Academy.
Their mornings start off with team building exercises, which requires them to talk as a team, move as a team, solve problems as a team, and then from there they transition into whatever class they may be getting. Today's class is on first aid. They get training in active shooter situations. They're going to get a training from the Drug Enforcement Agency, Harbor Patrol, applied patrol procedures. So that's just essentially what the uniformed patrol does, responding to calls, interacting with citizens on a daily basis, CPR. There's a number of different things.
Sergeant Plant says all the students come into their experience with some interest in public safety and serving the community, including cadets Yasmeli Gomes and Jason Shavs.
I've always wanted to kind of do like a detective type of work. Like I like putting stuff together in my head and stuff. And I don't know, like I'm kind of nosy at that too. So I like to know what's going on. Like there's times when I'm hearing like the sirens outside and I'm in my room and I'm bored and I'm thinking and I'm like, they're on a mission. So it's like not really a mission, but they're helping people and they're doing all that.
My godfather and Vavu, my grandfather, my Vavu was in the Bristol County Sheriff's Office, and my godfather currently is a correctional officer. And seeing how drugs and like local crime has really like changed a lot of people, and how it has changed people in my family, such as my father, who is a convicted felon. I really want to like see the world become a better place, and I want to help that, and like just generally help the community.
Sergeant Plant says cadets often leave the academy with a different view of police work than when they started.
From what we can tell is their perception of law enforcement and public safety is very different than what actually goes on. At various points of the day, we have very like informal lecture periods where either myself or a couple of the other officers will come up, and it's basically like a Q&A period for the kids to ask us different questions, at which point we're able to explain to them the many hats that law enforcement wear, whether it's community caretaking, responding to emergencies, basically facilitating services for people who are in need.
Ms. Gomes says she comes into the academy with an open mind on the role police officers play within the community.
I feel like there is those bad cops out there, but there is good ones. So I'm not gonna sit here and, judge based off the couple of situations that have happened, because at the end of the day, there is a lot of policemen that have saved lives. So I definitely I'm gonna see where it goes.
For Mr. Shavs, he's looking to continue the family tradition of working in law enforcement.
Hoping to go into some law enforcement agency, whether that's the sheriff's office or the police department. I truly want to be a U.S. Marshal of some state, but that's my general end goal.
Bristol County Sheriff Paul Heroux is entering his 6th month on the job and continues to make what he sees are needed changes within the department. Back in April, the sheriff dealt with an inmate uprising that was quickly brought under control, but resulted in thousands of dollars in damages at the Dartmouth facility. The incident revealed key flaws in security at the jail, which will be addressed with additional state funding.
We're going to be putting locks on doors and toilets and cells in all of the 11 of the 21 housing units here at Dartmouth. We have the state's attention. They're being very cooperative. The Division of Capital Asset Management has been working with us, and it's government. Everything moves very slowly. And so this isn't something where we just are calling in a plumber to put toilets and cells or a locksmith to put locks on doors. This is a multi-million-dollar project. To do this right, it's probably going to cost in the neighborhood of $10 to $12 million to do both the locks on doors and the toilets and cells in half of the jail. Like literally half of our jail at Dartmouth doesn't, half of the housing units, 11 of the 22 don't have locking cell doors, and that's just really kind of dangerous.
Sheriff Hurrow says he's moving forward with plans to shutter the Ash Street Jail in New Bedford, which houses transitional inmates from local communities, with a targeted completion in late 2024.
We have to create the capacity here for the regional, because we're holding people from the region, is why we call them regionals. But then we also have to create about 100 more locking cell units. That way we can bring those inmates back from Ash Street, because those inmates, and as I was saying, they're a unique population. They have enemy issues, gang issues, sometimes staff conflict issues, and so they have to be kept in like cells that have single cells that have locking doors. We can't do that right now here. So in order to bring those inmates back from Ash Street, we have to put locks on doors. So the locks on doors are, the main goal is to close Ash Street, but also helps us make for a much safer facility, both for the inmates and the correctional staff.
When Sheriff Hurrow took office in January, the jail was short approximately 100 correctional officers, resulting in additional overtime and officer burnout. Thanks in part to offering incentives for new recruits, the sheriff is hopeful that the ranks of officers will be closer to full capacity sometime next year.
When I started, we had a new correctional officer class graduate in February with 5 people. 5 people, and they started in December. So my first correctional officer class started with 25 and we graduated 22. We have another correctional officer class coming in that has 47 people right now. So we were in single digits for years, year after year after year. Now, arguably, we have the largest correctional officer classes out of any jail in the state. You know, I don't think anybody else is putting out 47 people at the beginning of a CO class. So, you know, recruitment's been going really well, but now we have to retain people, and changing the work conditions here, improving them for COs or improving them for inmates, which then spills over to the COs. That's, you know, next on the agenda.
Sheriff Hurrow is also looking at improving efficiency of providing services to inmates. First and foremost was the hiring this month of new Director of Inmate Services, Jody Hockert-Lotz.
What we have her doing here is looking over all the inmate services, medical, food and commissary, post-release issues like housing, healthcare, and a job, programming such as anger management, sex offender programs, vocational and education programs, and so she oversees all of that. Also, you know, the religious services and volunteer services. So all of that is under her, and I've restructured this in a way that it makes it so that people who have a job to do can do it and just do that, because a lot of people were spread too thin. They were an expert working with inmates, that's certainly true, but we didn't have anybody who really is an expert at placing inmates in a job or an expert at placing inmates in housing. And inmates are challenged with their records, so you really need to specialize in that. So that's what I'm doing. Instead of being a jack of all trades, you're going to be, you know, you're an expert at none. Now I've put these different needs into silos, and that way they can really deliver a better service for reentry for the inmates.
Sheriff Hurrow also reversed a policy of previous Sheriff Tom Hodgson that lowers the commissary commission rate at the jail from 32% to 20%.
That money has to go into the inmates. We cannot put it towards salaries or offices or computers. It has to go to inmates in one way or another. So over the course of time, my predecessor built up about $1.5 million on this commission and didn't put it to use towards the inmates. So some of the things I'm going to be doing with that are, one thing I thought was just crazy was we weren't giving inmates shower sandals at time of admission. So they either had to take a shower in a communal shower barefoot, or buy their own sandals. So what I'm doing now is we're going to be using that commissary commission, which is money that comes from the inmates, to buy inmates shower sandals at time of admission. So when they come in, we give them that. It's a health issue, it's a humanity issue, but that's something that was, you know, if somebody's saying, well, why are you doing that for the inmates? Let them. The inmates are buying these for themselves. This is their own money that's paying for these. So, you know, inmates subsidize each other.
The sheriff says he's also looking to spend some of the commissary commission money to improve air conditioning in many of the cell blocks. The unemployment rate in Fall River rose slightly in June. The jobless rate in the city sits at 4.1%, up from 3.5% in May. Last June's unemployment rate was 5.6%. The communities around Fall River also saw an increase in unemployment, as did other gateway cities in southeastern Massachusetts. The state's unemployment rate for June dropped to 2.6%. We'll be back with more FRC Media News after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Teacher, KinderCare, located at 620 North Main Street, is looking for a full-time teacher to implement KinderCare's curriculum that is consistent with the unique needs of each child in a safe, nurturing environment. Job number 193-38994. Lead Clinician, Family Service Association, located at 151 Rock Street, is seeking a full-time lead clinician to provide outpatient treatment to individuals and families of the Behavioral Health Center in an office or outreach setting. Job number 193-45494. Vice President of Children and Community Partnerships, People Incorporated, located at 4 South Main Street, is looking for a full-time Vice President of Children and Community Partnerships, responsible for oversight and direction of People Incorporated's Children Division and Community Partnerships. Job number 193-45419. Developmental Specialist, Community Connections Incorporated, located at 125 Hartwell Street, is looking for a full-time developmental specialist. For more information, call 508-678-1210. Blancfein Foods, located at 630 Current Road, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. FSQ Technician 2. Job number 193-46403. Strategic Sourcing Strategist. Job number 193-39673. For more information about these or other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. There'll be 2 races that voters will face when they cast ballot on the September 19th municipal preliminary election for mayor and city council. A drawing was held this week during a meeting of the Board of Election Commissioners to set the order of candidates for the election. In the race for mayor, former Mayor Sam Sutter will be listed first, followed by incumbent Mayor Paul Coogan and 2021 candidate Michael Vandal. On the city council ballot, challenger Alexander Silva will be listed first, followed by newcomer Gloria Sadler. The next 4 candidates are incumbents: Joseph Camara, Sean Kadim, Andrew Raposo, and Pam LaLiberty. The 7th, 8th, and 9th slots will be filled by challengers Gabriel Amaral, Joshua Texera, and Ricky Tiff. Former councilor and current school committee member Paul Hart will be listed 10th. Incumbent Linda Pereira is next, followed by former councilor Cliff Ponte, challenger Joseph Salvador, and councilor Laura Washington. The last 5 slots on the ballot will be occupied by Jordan James Sylvia, Paulo Amaral, incumbent Michelle Dion, former school committee member Bob Pearson, and incumbent Brad Kilby. There will be no preliminary election for school committee. All 10 candidates in that race have advanced to the November city election. Stay with FRC Media through the late summer and fall, as we'll be inviting the candidates to share their thoughts on how they plan to lead the city. The new school year is set to start in a month, and the United Way of Greater Fall River is seeking donations of school supplies to get teachers and students off on the right track.
Every little bit helps these teachers. We found that teachers can spend as much as $1,000 out of pocket to pay for these supplies. So they're always super grateful to have these donations provided for them. It just helps kind of lessen the load and help support the community as they go into their academic year. We collect notebooks, folders, pens, pencils, markers, index cards, paper towels, hand sanitizer as well. So we collect a whole slew of materials for them.
Donations to the Teacher's Closet will be accepted for another 2 weeks.
We're collecting donations now through August 11th. People can drop off the supplies to our office at 30 Bedford Street in Fall River between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. They can either send a check to our P.O. Box 2550 or they can go online to uwgfr.org. If they click the Support Our Campaign button, then they'll be able to create a donation and designation for the Teacher's Supply Closet directly through that online site.
We will wrap up this edition of FRC Media News after this.
Welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Delilah. Delilah is a 5-month-old kitten, domestic short-haired. She's very friendly. She does like to be held. She loves to play. Very friendly. She would do good in any home. Kids of any age, I think, would be fine with her. She do good with other cats or by herself. She gets along fine in here with everybody else. So if you'd like to meet Delilah, come on down to 300 Linwood Street. She would love to meet you.
Today we have Miss Opal here. Opal is despite how she looks, she's only 2 years old. She's a Shih Tzu. She came to us in some rough shape, her and her sibling. So we actually have 2 of these guys. She is friendly, but she takes a little time to warm up. She's a very sweet girl. The kind of home that she would do best in. Average comings and goings would be fine, or even a calmer home. If you're a little bit older, maybe you're retired or whatnot, you're just kind of looking for a buddy. She would do very well for that, I think. She does do well with other dogs. She likes the other dogs, but just like with people, she needs a little bit of time to get used to them. At first, she's a little bit shy, but if you talk to her in your squeakiest squeaky voice and give her a little bit of time to adjust, she's very, very sweet. I would recommend older children with her, just because she can be nervous and whatnot. I don't think she would necessarily do anything with smaller kids, but typically speaking, the smaller the person is, the more they kind of feel like they can get away with doing X, Y, and Z. So if you'd like to meet Opal, you can come down to 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts at Forever Paws Animal Shelter.
That's all for this edition of FRC Media News. Please visit our website, frmedia.org, for all the latest news and local information. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.